everyone. Well, hello once again, and welcome to another episode of Inside IUE Sports. I'm your host, Caleb Gillock. As always, we've got another great show on the way for you here today. And today, joining me in studio, track and field head coach Gus Schmader to talk a little bit about the indoor season. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Well, let's just go ahead and start off by talking a little bit about how the winter's been going and your overall outlook on the season.
Well, I think overall we had a great fall training season. Everybody was pretty much ready to go and fired up for that first meet back in December. Even though it was right after Thanksgiving break and everybody fattened themselves up, we trained pretty hard going into that first meet, but we had a great first meet overall. We were able to break 5 school records and get a NAIA provisional qualifier.
All right. Well, it sounds like a great start to the season that way, though, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, just your overall outlook on the season, maybe for the women's team first.
Overall, I have high expectations for the team and just overall individual athletes. I focus on individual performances first. I expect every single athlete on the team to run a PR, especially how fall training went. I definitely expect to see that sometime soon for those who haven't PR'd already. Kayla was the first. She was the first event at the first meet, and she was able to PR and break a school record. Trisha was very close to getting a PR in the high jump, so we expect to see that happen within the next probably 2 weeks, I'd say. Okay. Sarah Mallory was 200ths off of her PR in the 60 dash, so I expect a lot of big things. Sarah Hornack broke the school record. That was her first indoor 800-meter race, so it was a big deal for her to drop about 6 seconds off of her initial PR. Okay. So I expect a lot from them, and I expect them to compete extremely well at the conference championships in February.
All right, good deal. How about the men's team?
On the men's side, I expect a little bit more because they have more people on the team, and we broke most of the school records on that side of the meet back in December. I expect more school records in the 60, the 200, the 400, 60 hurdles, the 800 meter as well, and the 3,000 meters. So I expect a big indoor season. Our expectations are high right now, so everybody's kind of fired up and ready to run and just to get things going in full swing. Last year, we were pretty successful. Seth was able to make it to indoor nationals in place, so we want to kind of keep that momentum going. Hopefully he gets an automatic qualifier and gets there in places higher than he did last year. And we also want him to be able to travel with one of his teammates, so we're looking to see who's going to be the guy to get a qualifier for the meet.
Well, since indoor track and field is a relatively new concept here at IU East, I mean, you kind of got to expect records to be shattered meet after meet, right?
I do, but one thing that can happen is people can become stagnant. So we want to make sure there's constant improvement, especially when, I guess what you're saying, the records are kind of soft. So we want to make sure we attack them week in, week out. There should be at least 2 school records every single meet. Okay. And that's my expectation.
All right, well, let's go back and talk a little bit about that first meet. I know you talked a little bit about it, but that first meet of the season on the road there, tell us a little bit about it.
All right, we went down to UIndy. It was a pretty good meet. There was about 8 teams there, NAIA, NCAA Division II, Division III, and 1 Division I school. So it was a nice mix of competition. There were a lot of fans there, surprisingly, just supporting their kids, family, and friends. The first event to go off was the throws, the female weight throw, and we were able to get a school record there, which is pretty exciting. The next event to go off was the high jump and the sprint simultaneously, the 60-meter dash. So Leo was able to break the school record in the finals of the 60. He ran a 6:98, while Trisha was able to get 3rd place in the high jump overall, which was pretty impressive. As the meet continued, more things happened. We had the 60-meter hurdle provisional qualifier. Seth was able to make the finals, and he was able to place 2nd. The men's 400, Justin was able to run a huge PR for his indoor, and he kind of, even though he didn't run as well as he should have, he let us know that he can do much better, and we expect great things from him. You know, all of his teammates were excited about his performance because we know how much faster he can run. In the 200-meter dash, we had a lot of athletes. We put about 5 athletes on the men's side, and 3 of them placed. So 3 of them were in the top 10, and we got a school record from Seth at 23:40. So overall, just a great meet, a lot of good performances, a lot of just cheering the team on, a lot of camaraderie, and just real high spirits.
All right, always good thing to have there. But you go back to work and competition coming up on Friday the 12th at the University of Findlay Northwest Ohio Invitational. Tell us a little bit about what you expect to see there.
This meet is going to be an interesting meet. We're just getting back off a break. We want to see where everybody's at, who's been training, how hard they've been training. We're going to load up on events, so just about everybody's going to be competing in 2 and 3 events. So I just expect to see everybody competing hard, trying to execute their race plans, and then just running through.
Right.
So sometimes when you're fatigued or you're a little bit rusty, you tend to not execute the same way that you did before. So I want to see everybody execute the best that they can under these conditions, because I know they'll be fatigued from running 2 and 3 events.
Right. From there, you go to travel at the Tiffin University Dragon Invite. What do you expect there?
We actually chose that meet because our conference championship is going to be held at Tiffin.
Okay.
So we just wanted to get a look at the track, see how it felt, learn the lanes, learn the runways, the throwing facilities, and just the overall venue. I expect to do some of the same things. We're going to be loaded up on events. We may drop down to 2 events for some people who've done 3. But I expect to see people be a little bit sharper than they were this upcoming weekend. I expect to see probably about 2 school records, and just overall the team getting sharper. We should have our full team competing at this meet. So I expect to have a just overall good performance.
Okay. And then from there on the 26th and 27th, you go back to Findlay for another meet there, right?
Yes. So by that meet, I want to start fine-tuning things. We're going to drop down to 1 and 2 events for most people. So that's when we're going to start seeing the PRs, the provisional qualifiers, and just making our mark in the conference, I think. People will see the performances from that meet and see, okay, this is a different IU East team. They're here to compete. They're here to play. All
right. Then in February on the 3rd, you'll go to Indiana Wesleyan for the Midwest Classic. Usually a pretty competitive meet, right?
Yes, indeed. So they have a pretty fast track, and it's going to be a pretty competitive meet. That's where I expect the fireworks to go off. I expect some major performances from everybody on everybody on our roster. We will be fine-tuned. We will be sharp by then. We will be ready to compete and at a high level. So I expect big things. I expect to have a good interview after that meet, right, because I'll be reporting all the good news, all the school records and provisional qualifiers from that meet.
All right, and then from there on Friday, the 9th of February, River States Conference Championships back at Tiffin.
Okay. Right now, that'll be kind of hard to say because we don't know the meet schedule yet. We don't know who's going to be competing in what events, but I expect to be very competitive. I expect all of our nerves to be shaken off within these upcoming meets. So by the time we get there, we'll be ready to compete. I don't think we're really going to have a problem at that meet as far as people not performing to their level best, because I expect them to be at their best at that time. If not, I'll take a lot of the blame for that.
Okay. Then you'll finish off the regular season at Anderson or at the Fast Track Last Chance Invite. Okay.
So we have 2 different meets scheduled, and that all depends on who is close to qualifying. So the Fast Track Invite is actually a banked track.
Okay.
So for those in the 200 and 400 and 800 meter sprints, it'll give them a chance to run on a faster track and get a faster time. Okay. So individuals that are on the cusp or on the bubble, we want them to get in there and see if they can really get an automatic qualifier so that we can get to the national championships in March. If not, we'll be at Anderson running the straightaway races.
Okay. One of the things I never heard until you started mentioning it throughout our interview, there's a difference between flat tracks and bank tracks, that the bank tracks are a little bit faster. How is that?
Just, I guess, the law of physics. You can actually run faster into a bank track, and when you're coming off the turn, you get that decline.
Okay.
So you kind of get a little slingshot off of the turn, whereas a flat track, depending on how they built it, the turns are sometimes tight. Some people tend to ease up, even if they do it subconsciously, whereas on a bank track, you run straight through it.
Okay.
So you're able to just capitalize on that decline. You're able to capitalize on, they're usually mondo tracks. They're usually elevated so you get more spring.
Okay.
So they usually put all of the money and all of their efforts into making the best tracks, some of the best tracks in the country.
Okay. All right. Well, anything else you want to add about either team?
Just that I'm pretty excited for this season. We're actually, once you get to January, that's when you're really into it. So we'll have a meet just about every weekend from now to March. So, I'm excited, and I hope my team sees this and they get as excited as I am.
All right, we'll go ahead and take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll break down event by event for the women's and the men's teams next here on Inside IUE Sports.
The leaders of First Bank Richmond encourage their employees to give their best effort towards serving the community. One organization very dear to many First Bank Richmond employees is the Third Grade Reading Academy. First Bank staff volunteers hundreds of hours and even host Academy students on site. Doing great things together stands for First Bank's commitment to continue doing all they can to make life better for their customers and our community. First Bank Richmond and you, doing great things together.
What if a home phone could also be a smartphone? And what if that home phone could save you money on your home and wireless bill at the same time? With Xfinity Voice, you get amazing technology like readable voicemail on your smartphone, caller ID on your TV, and even text messaging, all for a low price. Start saving with unlimited nationwide talk and text and switch to Xfinity Voice for just $19.99 a month for 12 months. Call 1-800-XFINITY today.
Almost done.
Now you can pay your bill, manage your appointments, and check your connection status. Anytime, anywhere.
Oh, so you're protesting? Okay.
Introducing Xfinity My Account, available on any device.
And welcome back. We just finished talking about the outlook overall on the season. But now it's time to break the teams down by event. So let's go ahead and talk about that, Coach Schmader. Let's start off by talking about the women's team and talk about your short sprints.
Okay. First in the short sprints, we have Sarah Mallory. She started off the season pretty well. She was right off of her PRs, and considering the work that we've done going into that meet, that's definitely a good start because she was tired. She was fatigued from that week's practice. Mm-hmm. So I expect a lot of good things for her in the upcoming weeks, especially closer toward the end of the month. I expect to see her drop her PR tremendously.
Okay.
Also, Brandy Lee Claxton is going to be sprinting. She hasn't sprinted since high school, so she had a year off. She's technically a sophomore in college.
Okay.
It's going to take a little bit of time for her to come along, but I expect her to develop as well. She's been getting better every week, so I'm excited to see how much she's going to improve.
Okay. Is that all of them?
Yes.
Okay. Move on and talk about the hurdles.
So Alicia is our lone hurdler, our lone short hurdler. She's actually been sprinting more so far this season. She's going to get her first start in the hurdles next weekend. So this weekend she's going to run the 60 and 200 again. But I just wanted her to learn how to open up a little bit more, make sure that she's lifting her knees and not tightening up her stride. Because doing that in the hurdles, it tends to shorten your steps. You end up hitting the hurdle and going down. So I wanted to make sure that she was ready to attack that race. So I expect her to PR right off the bat in the hurdles.
Okay. And how about middle distance?
Our middle distance runners, we definitely had a good start there. Sarah Hornack was able to break the school record in the first meet. So that was exciting to see. She dropped the time by 3 seconds. It was her first indoor 800 as well. We have a nice middle distance group. Brooke is coming along. She's going to open up next weekend in the 800. She'll probably run the 4x8 this weekend. So I'm excited to see what she'll be able to do coming off cross-country season.
Right.
She's excited. She's ready to go. So we definitely have some big things coming up in the middle distance area.
For people that run cross-country, that's got to help them out for track too, right?
Definitely, definitely. It builds their base, especially for the longer distance runners, but it just gets their base down. You know, it's a little more difficult in track because things are a little bit faster, but it prepares them.
All right, you mentioned long distance, so let's talk about them.
Our long distance runners. So Ashley was able to make it to cross-country nationals this year. She wants to continue that success on the indoor season. We're looking to put her in the 5K and the 3K. So hopefully she's able to get close to qualifying for nationals this year indoors, and then by outdoors, I think she'll be a shoe-in for the 10K. But we want to work on her speed a little bit and see how good we can get her in the 3 and 5K.
Okay. How about the jumpers?
The jumpers. So our two high jumpers, they had a great fall training season. Unfortunately, Autumn cracked her rib in December.
Oh.
So that kind of slowed her down over the break. She's just now getting back into it. But Tricia was able to jump better than she has in her first meet in a couple years, and she was extremely high over the bar at 5'3". So I'm hoping to see her PR in the next couple of weeks, and I think she'll be able to place high at the conference championships.
Okay. Autumn will be able to compete, though, it sounds
Yes,
like?
Autumn will be able to compete probably in about 2 weeks. We just want to make sure that she's healthy. We don't want to get her in there practicing landing and then kind of re-injure herself. So we're going to take our time and making sure she's back to 100% before we get going again.
Right. And how about the throwers?
The throwers. So another good start there. We had a school record in the first meet. Kaylee, she broke her own school record by a lot. So I'm expecting her to do the same thing just about every week.
Right.
So she was definitely excited after that big throw, and I was as well. We want to see her get some more improvement in the shot put as well. She broke the school record in the weight throw. So for me, starting off well says a lot because we do not train to compete well. Not to say compete well early, but we don't train to be our best in December.
Right.
We train for championship season. We train for outdoors. So to start off early with good PRs, it says a lot in our program.
Now, come toward the end of the indoor season, who do you expect some of the standouts to be on your women's team?
I expect for Tricia to do extremely well in the high jump. I expect Kaylee to just stand out, just being that she'll probably break her own school records another 4 or 5 times. Sarah, I think, is going to do extremely well. She's already dropped a lot of time off of her 800, and I think she probably can drop another 8 seconds once she really gets into the swing of things and gets comfortable with the indoor race. Those 3 are probably going to be our best 3 athletes this indoor season.
Okay. And it sounds like the women's team off to a great start, though, right?
Yes, they are. They're definitely off to a great start, so I'm excited to see how well they're going to do in the next month or so.
All right. All right, well, there you have it, talking about the women's team. We'll go ahead and take a quick break, come back and talk about the men's team next here on Inside IUE Sports.
This is where a busy mom can work toward a bachelor's degree from a top national university during softball practice. It's where a service member can continue his college studies from anywhere in the world, and where you'll benefit from one of the country's most effectively delivered online programs.
Woohoo!
So, if you've ever wondered if a college education is really worth it, this is where you'll see that it is. This is Indiana University East Online.
Life can sometimes be chaotic. And with small children, it can be difficult to get to the doctor.
Hi, Mrs. Towns. How are you doing?
I have a sick little boy right here. I think he might have an ear infection.
With Read Health Now virtual visits, you don't even need to leave your home.
I'll send in a prescription for him.
Quick, easy, convenient.
I don't want to take the kids out today.
Oh, hey, Doc.
Read Health, right beside you, right now.
And welcome back. We're talking about indoor track and field with head coach Gus Schmader. We just finished talking about the women's team. So, Coach, let's go ahead and talk about the men's team now. We'll start with the short sprinters.
Okay. The short sprinters had a good start to the season. We were able to break the 60-meter and 200-meter school record at the first meet. Leo Cordova broke the 60-meter school record. He got under 7 seconds, ran 6:98. Which isn't too far off a provisional qualifier for nationals. Okay. And Seth Reynolds was able to break the 200-meter school record, and 4 other of the men's 200-meter runners were able to run PRs in that race. So that was pretty good to see. 4 of them was in the same heat, so we had a nice blanket IUE finish. But they've started extremely well. They're just applying what they've learned, executing the race plan, and that's really what I was looking for early on. I'll be looking for the same things in the next couple weeks, and then I'll be looking for big time drops toward the end of the month and in February.
All right, and how about the long sprinters?
The long sprinters. Justin got a good start to the season. He was our lone 400 runner in the first meet. He had a little bit of nerves, so his first lap wasn't that great. And then once he shook those nerves off, he really opened up and blew out the competition in his heat. I think he could run about 2 seconds faster than what he did in the first meet. And I really expect him to break our 400-meter school record sometime soon. So he's dedicated and he's been putting in the work. And I've also moved Mitch up into the 400 space, so he'll be able to contribute there, just running the open and getting on that A 4x4 relay team. And I have to mention Dustin Reynolds. He's done an excellent job. He was able to run a big PR in the 800, but he'll be running in the 400, 600, and 800. So I expect him to PR in both races as well.
It's got to be nice having guys that want to keep putting the work in, keep getting better, right?
It definitely is.
Makes your job easier.
It makes it much easier. And I know I like to use Dustin as an example because he tries to do everything right to a T. And that's always good to see as a coach. You know, you want to have that athlete on your team that you can point to if something's going wrong. Somebody you can trust who can get the workout done whether you're looking or whether you're not. And he also, that type of athlete also motivates his teammates.
Right.
So,
how about the hurdlers?
The hurdlers. So we had a good start there as well. Although we did not get a school record, we had a provisional qualifier in the first meet. And we'll definitely break the school record here sometime down the line. But just to have a provisional qualifier for nationals right off the bat is definitely a good start. You know, once you start like that, the only way you can go is up, in my opinion. So Hayden's coming along nice as well. He's going to run a lot of PRs this season. He's getting more and more comfortable with the race. His technique has improved a lot. His overall foot speed has improved a lot. So, you know, it'll be nice to have for Seth to have somebody really to go at it with practicing.
Okay, and how about the middle distance runners?
Our middle distance, first meet, Adam Klipstein ran the 800. He dropped his PR by 2 seconds, I believe, indoors. He ran a gritty race, you know, pretty even pace, but he showed a lot of grit at the end, the last 300 meters. So he definitely motivated us watching that race. We were up cheering for him, yelling, chasing him down the track, and I really expect him to drop a few more seconds. The same thing with Dustin moving up into that space. He'll probably drop a couple seconds and be on that 4x8 relay team indoor. Okay. Sage as well. Sage ran the first meet. Although he didn't PR, we see a lot of things that he can improve on and a lot of things that he is improving on. So once we find that fourth piece, I think we'll have a pretty good 4x8 team to put out the conferences and just a pretty good mid-distance team overall. If I talk about the mile runners or the 15-mile area, we have a lot of freshmen that's going to be running that race. Logan, Justin, even we have Campos who's going to be running the 1600 indoor. So I'm interested to see how they're going to do. We did not run that race in the first meet, so this weekend will be everybody's opening mile.
Okay. How about the long distance runners?
The long distance. So Cole made cross-country nationals. So we're all trying to look forward to see what he can do on the indoor. He'll be running the 3,000 and 5,000. Ben will be running the longer distances as well. I think they're really going to do well. Just watching them practice this morning, I see a little bit of intensity in Ben's eyes. So I think they're ready for the indoor season, ready to just do something a little bit different. I know in cross you kind of get tired of the scenery. So with indoor, things change week in, week out, whether it's competition or the track or the actual race. So it should be fun.
All right, how about the jumpers?
The jumpers. So we don't have a huge jump corps. Keegan is going to be the only one jumping for us this season. Okay. He had a quad injury that kind of slowed him down. He did not compete the first meet. So he'll open up in the long jump next meet. He had a pretty good season last year. He was up and down in his performances. So we're looking to be more consistent, be on the board more, and just try to capitalize off of some of that explosiveness that he's gained in this past fall season.
I know from talking to him in the past, it's always been one of his goals to qualify for nationals. What's it going to take for him to get to that level?
It's going to take for him to execute consistently. In track and field, consistency breeds greatness. So just doing certain things the same week in, week out, that's pretty much all he needs. Sometimes, you know, he gets in his own heads. He thinks he needs to change certain things, but he's doing pretty well overall, and he just needs to do the same thing over and over. Right. If he does that, he'll be able to pop that big jump that he needs to qualify.
And you were talking about that from your own personal experience.
Yes.
Before you went on the show.
Yes, so my freshman year in college, I qualified for indoor nationals in the long jump. It took me a while to get an automatic qualifier, but when I did, you know, I was feeling pretty good, a little bit arrogant, a little bit cocky, and I thought I would just get to nationals and jump even further. So when we got there, I didn't warm up properly. I didn't get my marks checked. I just said, I'll be fine. When tomorrow comes, I'll jump. Meet day came, I put my mark down, and my mark was nowhere near the board. So after about 3 poor jumps, my last jump was my best jump, but I was one place out of qualifying for the finals. And in turn, we ended up losing nationals by 2 points that year, and I was ranked 3rd coming in. So if I was able to at least get 7th place, we would have been tied for 1st place. So extremely disappointed in myself.
Well, consistency's key, though, right?
Exactly.
All right, well, how about the throwers?
The throwers. So Nick threw well the first meet. He only threw the shot put, but For first meet, he was only a centimeter off of his PR. So that's definitely big for us. He had some knee problems, so he was not using his full body to throw. He was using a lot of his newfound strength and just upper body in general. So hopefully as the season goes along, we can get that knee in order and he's able to use his whole body to get a real good throw out there. I'm sure he's going to PR multiple times as the season goes along, though.
All right, I asked you this about the women's team, so I'll ask you the same about the men's team. Who do you expect some of the standouts to be come time for the end of the season?
I think some of the standouts will probably surprise some people. I think Justin is going to stand out in the long run. He's been extremely dedicated and focused. At times, he wants to be the best right at that moment. But, track is a process. Everything is, every piece of the puzzle matters. So I think once we get to the end of the season and he really brings everything together, he's going to really drop his time tremendously and be one of the best 400-meter runners in the conference. I also expect Keegan to jump well for us. And hopefully we can, of course, Seth is already qualified for national. I expect him to get an automatic qualifier. But I'm hoping that we can get him down to some other events as well. He's ran a pretty good 200. I'm expecting him to drop his time some more. And Leo as well. I expect him to drop his time in the 60-meter dash.
All right. You also kept talking about provisional national qualifiers, guys that have the potential to qualify for nationals when it comes that time. What does it take to qualify for nationals in indoor track and field?
Speed. So it's going to take, in the 400, it'll take about 50 flat to get on that list.
Okay.
It all depends on the track. They have different times for different tracks. If you run on a 300-meter track, the time will be a little bit faster. Flat 200-meter tracks, which most of the tracks will be running on, is 50 flat, and bank tracks is about 0.2 faster. For a good quarter mile, it'll take them getting out. So what Justin didn't do the first meet, he did not get out that first 200 at all. I'm pretty sure after watching that 200 that he can get out about 2 seconds faster. So he'll immediately be in the 50-point space come probably next weekend. And then from there, he'll gain that confidence and be able to attack that provisional mark. For the 60-meter dash, a lot of it is explosiveness. We were a little bit tired that first meet. We trained completely through that week. So as we start to taper down toward the end of the season, I expect time to drop a lot. So, pulling back a little bit in the weight room, pulling back in the days prior to meets, things like that, we'll be able to drop.
Okay.
With the hurdles, it's the same thing. It's repetition more so. So just getting faster over the hurdles, getting his trail leg over. Seth has a slower trail leg, a pretty fast lead leg. So we're just working on the trail leg and overall foot speed. He's been able to improve his foot speed, so we just want to make sure that he can bring that same speed to the hurdle race without compromising his form.
Okay. All right, Coach. Well, thanks for your time today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem. Anytime. Well, there you have it from Coach Gus Schmader talking about his outlook on the indoor track and field teams for this season and the indoor season. We will go ahead and wrap up this episode of Inside IUE Sports. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.